dear friends, I'm glad to welcome everyone watching Sotnik-TV this moment. It's August 31st, 2019. The summer is almost gone, and we are living the final hours of the summer 2019. The August turned out really hot. It was full of political events and more. There was an explosion under Severodvinsk, as well as the wildfires in Siberia that started back in July. So that was a very hot time, that August 2019. We will discuss the results and a little more than the ongoing events during today's stream. I will try to analyze and share some thoughts and information, and to ask some unpleasant questions to the man calling himself an opposition leader in Russia. You'll hear the questions at least. I wish those were answered. I'm sure after you know those, you'll wish that as well, to get some sane answers regarding those. And in the very beginning, let me address the potential advertisers of ours. Please be so kind to contact our advertising service at prsotnik.tv@gmail.com, which is the email address of our PR service. You'll receive a guaranteed reply. We will get in touch and send you an offer, some sane offers on advertising, so let's cooperate. Let's develop Sotnik-TV, as it is really unique content we produce. As for me, we act in the interest of the society and the viewers. Russian society is really weak and small. It is really spread apart. It hardly grows. And that junta is trying to stomp on those little sprouts with its boots. Nevertheless, Sotnik-TV crew tries to provide you with not just another YouTube channel of another talking head. We try to provide you with an interesting, cognitive, informational and analytical content. We don't act in the interest of any business groups or political parties. We're not supported by any politicians. That makes us very uncomfortable guys for many people. Our interest is to have Russian society finally grow, to have more and more new people in politics, so that people don't call politics a dirty business. Just like any other business, it turns dirty once dirty people do it. Dirty hands turn any business dirty, and politics is not dirty itself. Being a politician is a job, as being a teacher, or a doctor, or a physicist, or a diver. That's also a job, you know. That is not something dirty, but it turns dirty when dirty people with dirty thoughts get to it. The authorities are considering new ways of countering the protests that have been on in Moscow since July. The next mass actions, according to local news reports, may gather the representatives of Cossacks and Donbas Veterans Union members. They exist, what a surprise. As well as people specially involved by those organizations, specially involved people by those organizations. The funds haven't been allocated so far, but the President administration is negotiating with all kinds of punks, striving to put their bigs into the budget and to make some money out of that outrage. The process of unwinding the flywheel of civil war by splitting the society is on. One part of the society is being set against the other one. We won't deny that all those Cossacks, Novorossiya lovers, and the rest of the punks are the part of the society as well. Yes, those are the sick part. Yet they live in Russia as well. They would probably be less aggressive, immoral and unprincipled should they get a normal education, should they see their place in legal field, should they know how to make some legal money and where the place in the sun is. But for a reason, they had been put into a pitch-dark hopelessness in that shit. And then they were marked a capacity passage. Look, you could raise some money from that outrage that was sanctioned by our beloved junta. So be it, we'll give you that chance. And at the same time, we'll get you dirty with crime once again. As citizens' constitutional rights violation means crime, of course. And so they involve into crime once again, those from a pitch-dark corner. That part of the society, those outcasts, are being turned into absolute villains and outlaws covered by the state. And those Cossacks are some kind of oxymoron. I can't imagine. I see some students in France protesting, being dispelled by musketeers, or by the descendants of Vikings in Sweden, because a Cossack's army is something medieval. It's 100 years old as a maximum. Why don't we call for archers then? That is far from the 21st century. Yet those Chekists are the cave creatures themselves. They're some kind of orcs from a scary fantasy by styling, some real one. So they will summon any vermin. That's why they are so in occultism, and even have their own Dracula inside the mausoleum. They will wake him up if needed. They know how to raise his eyelids, and then it all will break really bad. The president of Poland, Andrzej Duda, met the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, today. As a result of the meeting, he said the following, let me quote, "Ukraine needs to reobtain the territorial integrity it had before 2014. Its territory is occupied today. Crimea, as well as Lugansk and Donetsk regions, need to be returned to Ukraine. Our position regarding Russia in such context is clear," Duda said. "We consider the sanctions policy need to keep on being the most peaceful way to make a state obey the international law." End of quote. Of course, the society was excited with the possible Ukrainian war prisoners exchange for a couple of days. I didn't write anything on that and haven't anticipated a thing, as some have literally started delighted hysteria, yelling that Sentsov was in Kiev already, and the plane with the imprisoned sailors was about to land in Juliana airport. Well, it didn't land. It all appeared some Moscow fanfare, pumping the event relevance. Yet in fact, all that was in favor of Putin's propaganda. Chasing sensations, many journalists would often forget who they deal with. Those are calculating sadists and crooks from Kremlin. They will twist your guts. They will reel miles of those before they admit some cheap concessions that will be put as an ultimate nobility and virtue right away. It turned out that Moscow needed Tsemach. He is who they need. No exchange is possible without him. And he is the person who in fact ran the Boeing MH17 downing. He was the chief at the site. So he is the precious witness, being the direct executive. And Putin needs him gone. If I were in Semach's shoes, thank God I'm not and never could have been there. But in Semach's shoes, I would beg President Zelensky not to give me away, as once he is given to Russians, he is done. He will simply be killed. Putin needs to make sure that Semach will never say a thing to anyone. So he needs to die and go to grave. So all that story around Vyshinsky is a signboard, because Moscow really doesn't care about some corrupt journal. There are tons of those in Moscow. What's the point of exchanging him and getting upset? He's just an excuse, a front. So we will sure wait, hoping that exchange takes place. But President Zelensky needs to be alerted that he can't give Semach away in no case. Once he gives him away, he makes a big mistake. Moving to the really important issue, I want to point your attention to that. According to Russian Nature Monitoring Agency, 7.2 billion tons of manufacturing and consumption waste occurred in Russia in 2018, which makes 14% more than in 2017. 14% more. The main source of the waste is mining operations that make 94%, and a significant part of such waste is being recycled and processed. But speaking of solid communal waste, that makes 70 million tons per year in Russia. And only 5 million tons of those are being recycled. The rest, which is 65 million tons, goes to dumping grounds. And some insignificant part is being burned. Yearly plastic waste amount is around 3 million tons per year. And not more than 12% of that waste is recycled. That is the report of Russian Greenpeace press service. The total area of Russian dump yards, according to Greenpeace, exceeds 4 million hectares. Imagine the territory of Switzerland. That is the dump yard that big. Just like Switzerland. And against this dull background, Russian companies recycling the materials start buying, you never guess what. More plastic waste from abroad. The last year's import exceeded $20 million, which makes 32% more than the previous year. I tell you more, a new treaty was signed these days that opens Russia for European waste. Do you know mostly where that waste is going? That's where they are trying to protest now. To Arkhangelsk region. Considering power resource mining volume decrease, Russia slightly switches the status of a world gas station to the status of a global dump area. Some garbage dump, where current and future Russians are doomed to rot. Some will be born mutants right away. Others will mutate during their life and struggle. They will die young, as the ecological environment will make it impossible to survive. And from that point, all the steps of the occupying regime seem logical. All of those. The population enslavement and turning people into cattle. You're welcome to drink. Here's some cheap vodka for you. There's no fight against drug addiction. We're first in AIDS and child oncology. Russia is #1 in the world there. Medicine and education are being destroyed. That means a step-by-step disposal of the entire population, followed by the territory sold and the people replaced in future. How do they name it? Wasn't that a genocide? Putinists conduct genocide. And those are not only Russians they terminate. Not at all. They are internationalists. They terminate all in a row. Those who were unlucky to be born and live on that unlucky land. It's 8:05 p.m. in Moscow. This seems to be it. That was the stream on August 31st, 2019. The summer protests are almost gone. The summer was hot. I believe that Russia steps into hot fall. The fall will burn. It sure will. But we'll discuss the ongoing events next week. And to those staying in Russia, I have already told a lot today, but as usually I wish not to get hit. Taking care of yourself is the most important thing, so take care of yourselves, of your hearts and souls, of your close ones. We'll meet live in 1 week. Goodbye.